We've been looking at frames for learning for the reflective practitioner. And what's important for the reflective practitioner to do is to be able to reframe problems in order to be able to solve them. Reframing is simply a way of looking at a problem from a different perspective, because by doing that we get to see the problem much more clearly. By reframing, the different perspectives help us to see things much more clearly. When you're stuck particular issue or problem in the classroom, for example, as a reflective practitioner, being able to stand back and reframe the problem is a way for you to reflect effectively on that particular problem. It can be very difficult to do because, as we've discovered, frames are very much based in our values and assumptions, and trying to reframe can be quite a difficult thing to do because it requires a change in our values and assumptions. What we can do is use a very simple matrix to help us reframe particular problems. By using a tool such as this, it simplifies the situation and forces us to look at problems or issues from those different perspectives. And the simple thing to do is to start with a 4-square grid. In terms of looking at perspectives, this is a very simple way for us to focus our attention on particular aspects of a problem. And in the 4-square grid, we will have 4 boxes, and what we can do is actually use the 4 boxes to focus our attention on particular perspectives. So in the center of the grid, we will identify the particular problem or the issue that we're having in the classroom in as much detail as we can actually provide. And then around the problem, we will have those 4 boxes. And in those 4 boxes, we'll identify the 4 perspectives that we can use to explore the problem. So the question is, what do we put into those 4 boxes? Well, what we can do is that we can use what's called the 4 Ps approach. This is simply looking at the particular issue or problem from 4 different perspectives in relation to our work in the classroom. And the first perspective is known as the product perspective. This is where we're looking at the issue or problem from the point of view of the outcome of what's really being achieved. And a better way to look at this is in terms of some key questions. For example, does the lesson that we're delivering respond to the needs of the learners? That would be an example of looking at the problem from the product perspective. We can also look at it from a planning perspective as well. Or in other words, is our planning at fault in relation to this particular problem that we're experiencing? How good are the resources that we've prepared and planned to use for the lesson? How are these in terms of influencing the problem? We can also look at it from the potential perspective, or in other words, how could things improve? What different learning outcomes could be achieved? How are others doing the same work as us? How is another teacher doing similar teaching? How are they going about it? So looking at the problem from the potential perspective is another way to reframe our learning of our experience. And then, of course, the final P would be the people perspective. Who are the people that are impacted on by this? And what do they think? And how are they involved in this particular problem? So these are just some simple questions to help us focus our attention on particular perspectives in relation to a problem or issue that we're faced with in the classroom. And by noting them down within quadrants of a matrix, it forces us to focus our attention on particular aspects of the problem, rather than looking at the problem from a very holistic point of view.